Welcome back, college baseball fans. We got another wonderful episode here on the College Baseball Show about the Coach's Corner, brought to you by Just Baseball Media. I'm joined today by co-host Jared Perkins. How we doing, Jared?
Good to see you.
And we brought in the wonderful associate head coach here at Auburn, Karl Nonemaker. How we doing, Coach?
Yeah, doing great today. Glad to be here, guys. Thanks for including me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. I mean, we've been really excited. We want to give you just this opportunity here to start this show. Tell us a little bit about your baseball background, how you got to Auburn, and where you're at the position you are now.
Yeah, well, in a short term, I grew up in New Jersey and went down south to play college baseball, went down to Vanderbilt and played for 4 years, played a little bit after that. And then about 2 years after college, when I was done with playing minor league baseball, got right into coaching. And that was 2004 at Auburn, believe it or not, was my first coaching job for 3 years for Coach Tommy Slater, and had a great experience, and then left for 10 years, coached a little high school, coached at Monmouth University, a small Division I school on the Jersey Shore, and then went to Old Dominion for 6 years. And then about 10 years after I left Auburn in 2007, came back to join Butch Thompson's staff. And he had been named head coach a couple years prior, and we had worked together the first time around. So it's been awesome. It's been a journey of just realizing people. You know, we were just talking before we got on the show about we had not met yet, and baseball is such a small world. And, you know, the people are, for the most part, are just so great, and there's so many good relationships. And that's probably been the theme of my career so far, is just having some great relationships and people that believed in me and gave me opportunities, and thankful to be a part of, you know, such a great profession and a great game.
Yeah, Coach, I love that. You kind of talked about the game just being the people that make up everything. And what you all have built at Auburn is kind of something special with Coach Thompson, you, Coach Gross, everyone else. Talk about when you're looking to kind of recruit those players into the program, like what are you looking for kind of personality trait-wise to bring into Auburn baseball?
Yeah, you know, a lot of what you're trying to do is feel out that sort of fit. And so much of it just comes down to how somebody acts and how they communicate. You know, we get to pick who we coach, so we want people that, you know, communicate and are about hard work. And, you know, I would say the opposite of maybe what a prima donna is, who wants things handed to them. We're looking for guys that just want to grow every day, work hard, treat their family the right way, treat their teammates the right way. You know, and when a player makes a decision on going to a college, it should be a selfish decision, right? It should be something, what is the best thing for me? That's a time for that. But then once you're at the place, it can't be all about one person. You know, coaches, players, administrators, everybody sacrifices something for the greater good. So we're looking for guys, and probably a lot of other programs are too, that want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Yeah. And try to, you know, the beautiful thing about playing college baseball now with 64 teams in a postseason, and especially in the SEC with, you know, focusing on trying to get at-large bids and things like that, every single game of a 56-game season means a lot. And so you want people that are about winning and competing, because every game we play has a price on it, and that's what makes it great.
Yeah, Coach, on that side, you guys have continually been really, really good defensively. Is that something you guys recruit after? Is that something you guys go after? Do you go after guys, you know, that have that effort, or you already look at guys and say, they're going to match up defensively with what we want to do?
Yeah, you know, that's really interesting question, Mark, on how teams build and put a team together, right? You got to sometimes peel back a little bit. We've got a pitching coach, head coach, Butch Thompson, who has been on the pitching side his whole life. And most pitching guys really like defense. And, you know, defense doesn't seem like a big deal until it's not. It's sometimes like, you know, you want to put bats out there, but in our league and in college baseball these days, you can't give people, you know, 4 outs every inning. And not to mention, if you can cover the outfield and have some range, you can make it much tougher to score. And baseball is offensive right now, and the balls are getting out of the ballparks and things like that. And so, you know, we want to have a team that can cover some ground, be athletic, and make routine plays. So we put a lineup out there a little bit. We tell the players on the team that we won't put an inferior defender on the field. We're going to put the best combination of defense and offense in the lineup, but you might be a little better hitter than somebody else that can play a premium position. And that's not the only thing that is being evaluated. And to that point, we focus on it in the recruiting process, just trying to figure out where could this player project to play above average defense, at the college level.
Yeah, I love that, Coach. And I kind of wanted to turn into the 2025 season and all the success that you all had there. Went 17-13 in conference, 28-8, I think, at home, won over 40 games. Just a really successful team. You kind of see what Auburn's just been building over the last few years. Talk about the last season, kind of the success that you all had, how you're looking to build off of that. I know it didn't end quite as the way you wanted. You want to get to Omaha and try to win a College World Series as well. But you had a really, really good season, and I just wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Well, every time you have a good year, the last game is going to be tough.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Except for one team. Maybe if a team doesn't have a great year, their last game might be a relief. But you want to make it to where your last game, it hurts if you don't win the whole thing. And it did. And we played a really good Coastal Carolina team that was hot, that was on a win streak, that was well coached, that had good players, was playing well. And, sometimes in a weekend series, you have a moment or two that can make a game swing one way or the other. And sometimes you capture them and sometimes you don't. And we obviously just fell on the short side of it that weekend to a team that was a good team playing great. And, the theme of last year, I think, was just a group of guys that, we had come off a very tough 2024 season. And we had some unbelievable leadership in guys like Cooper McMurray, Derek Fabian, Ike Irish. We had a bunch of older pitchers that had been here for a while that just took it upon themselves to create an environment that was about competing and building each other up and winning. And it was really fun to see a group just come together and just show up and compete every day, because that's what this is all about, is coming together with your teammates and trying to be the best you can be. So that was a great ride. It wouldn't have happened without some huge moments from a guy like Sammy Dutton. Interesting thing, we had recruited him out of high school. He goes to LSU and then end up kind of getting him for a year on the back end. He adds the slow breaking ball and adjusts a little bit of his arsenal, gets to start consistently and had an unbelievable year on Fridays for us. Had a few older pitchers like Carson Myers step up and do huge things. So yeah, it was a great year. And as every team, has to figure out, especially in college baseball, your oldest players graduate and a lot of your other best players sign. And so every one of our opponents is trying to figure out, all right, how are we going to fill in the gaps for those huge years that guys had? And we're figuring that out. Now, fortunately, there was a good amount of guys in a lineup that played, right? We've got a lot of at-bats from 5 or 6 guys that are returning that were really in the mix every day. So it feels like a good chunk of our lineups back, although we have some big losses. And then we had a lot of young, talented kids on the mound that pitched some, that we're really relying on them and a few guys in the transfer portal to make some jumps and step up and settle us on the mound.
When you look at that, Coach, like you said, you brought in some guys that are going to contribute right now and coming in from the transfer portal, maybe even some freshmen. Those guys that are remaining, though, do you have anything like with the leadership program or anything that keeps those guys going? I mean, it seems like every year you guys have this next class of captains that kind of take the mantle and say, this is what Auburn baseball is. This is how we do things the right way.
Yeah, I think most really good coaches have a way of figuring that out and creating player-led teams. And Butch Thompson is just unbelievable at it. And, it's not about him. He's a servant leader that tries to put players in a position to rise up and lead. And he tells them all the time that it's their team. And, we do something really cool that, throughout the fall, instead of just naming captains, we have a survey at the end of the fall, and the players pick who they would want to represent them. And then we normally figure that out like a couple weeks ago. And that's kind of something that's begun to happen, right? So these guys aren't just knighted, so to speak. And then Butch does a really good job of trying to help them along, because leadership does turn over. A lot of times your oldest, most experienced players are your leaders. And then the next year you have guys that have been in the program. It's very rarely a new guy that can do that. They've been in the program for at least 1 year, and now they're thrust into a position where they've got to be more vocal. And I think Butch does a great job at developing that. And hopefully we had unbelievable leaders last year to help us coming off a bad year. And hopefully these guys will step up and really create that environment that we had in the locker room last year.
Yeah, I love it. And Mark kind of talked about the new guys that are coming in, and you all just wrapped up the fall not too long ago. I keep forgetting that it's December and think it's still fall in my head. But you brought in guys like Jake Marciano, Drew Whalen on the mound. Had some really, really good bats. You brought in Todd Clay, Eddie Madrigal, Ryan Farber from Texas State. How have those guys looked this fall? And kind of what are some of your expectations now going into the 26th season that you've got to see these guys in the fall?
Yeah, they have been the transfers have been very solid. One of the things about the transfer portal that gives comfort to some guys is there's some track record there, right? There's guys that have been in some moments, and a lot of them have just stepped in right away. They've played a lot of baseball. They've got some talent. And, I think Jake Marciano and Drew Whalen, jump into a mix, where they're competing for some starts or piggyback, type roles that, they both had, Marciano had a really good fall. And then, offensively, positionally, Todd Clay was our fall MVP, believe it or not. So, he's an Auburn kid who went away the right way, got better, went to junior college. Arguably we missed on him probably the first time he left junior college, but when he went in the transfer portal, it was a no-brainer for somebody that loves Auburn. He raked this fall. He's getting better defensively. He's a joy to be around. So those guys have been really solid. And then, we've always had a few guys that have been in the program because we're still pretty heavy from a high school recruiting standpoint. We're still bringing in double-digit high school recruits a year. And so one guy that was our fall MVP on the mound was Griffin Graves. Griffin's a lefty from Tennessee who, had some really good moments as a sophomore, but, never really got into the top couple pitchers, but started to really build at the end of the year, had an unbelievable fall. And hopefully that's a guy that can just, he's had talent. He's a great kid. He's been a great teammate. He's had some moments. And that's, be honest, that's how Blake Burkhalter was, in that 22 team that we were talking about, Mark, that went to Corvallis, some guys that are in the program. Mason Barnett has been there, Hayden Mullins, Trace Bright. We've had guys, Richard Fitz, that have come and grown. And hopefully that'll happen with Andreas Alvarez, Christian Chatterton, Griffin Graves, Jackson Sanders, guys like that. And there's a few more that have talent that we really are counting on the mound to take some steps forward.
Speaking of talent, Coach, returning Chris Rimbert, Chase Fralick, these are guys that are good with the bat, good defensively, give you guys a really good edge. Is that something you guys kind of just build around and go, okay, these guys are going to be there. Let's see what other pieces we can fit in around those guys? Yeah,
I mean, guys that have a year like that, Chris Rimbert, he has developed versatility where he could bounce over to third. He played outfield last year, but he's really primary second baseman. And, we're probably just going to put him there and let him be comfortable. Chase Fralick has so much versatility. I mean, I don't know if everybody knows, our catchers call the game at Auburn, which it's probably a little bit in the minority of programs that do that. It takes a lot of work for our coaches to prepare them to call the game and, talking in the headset and things like that. But Chase, as a freshman, just had an unbelievable year with that. He's a great catcher. He never gives an at-bat away. He can bounce out and play third and first base any day. He does it in fall ball because we rest his legs some. So those guys are everything you could possibly want in people and players. And it settles us because it's two of the middle of the field positions and settles you down. Now, shortstop, trying to figure that out. Eric Guevara is a great player. We brought in Ryan Farber. In the transfer portal, we have some options there. And we feel like we actually have a couple center fielders. So we feel like we're pretty strong up the middle. And then we just got to figure out how to get our bats in, guys that can still play good defense, but got some impact on the corners.
I love it. Sorry, I was muted there for a second. Got my vacuum going in the background. Yeah, so just looking at the schedule for the upcoming year, you all are going to Globe Life Field to start, which I was at that tournament last year, and it's just really awesome. You get a ton of talent. I think you have K-State, Florida State, Louisville. Talk about how those kind of early season tournaments kind of prep you all for the season, especially when you're going into SEC play and it's like a gauntlet calendar.
Yeah, we've been to that tournament twice.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that's awesome about that tournament is it's 2 games a day.
Yeah.
And, so you're not, it's not like a conference tournament where you might play an 11 o'clock game at night or, it's a dome. So you've got great competition. You're in a major league stadium. You don't have the elements the same way. So that has been, it's like every time they invite us, we say yes. That's not something that you just make happen when they call. And it's been a great experience. It also, we've always played a really strong non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
I think we've been in the top 5 to 10 of strength of schedule just about every year. I think it was top 5 last year. And it gets your attention, right? Just as you're training in January and February, knowing that you're going to a major league stadium and you're going to be playing SEC type caliber teams. And then we bring in some really good non-conference teams. I think it also gets the players' attention to not give any days away in preparation, knowing that they're going to have to be ready. And that's a good thing because urgency is a great thing. And I think that tournament creates a little urgency.
Yeah, I mean, it puts you right into play and gets you ready for SEC play, which is, ever so important. We know that the number of 13 wins usually gets you into the tournament. More than that can get you into the seeding conversation. Coach, you look at it in this tournament, you got guys, even in your own state, Alabama, Troy, some of these rivalries are now bleeding into the SEC and overall, and you guys play Troy usually in the non-conference. Talk just a little bit about how hard it is to prep for the SEC and then playing some of these non-conference teams that are really, really good in your area.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the heart of, college baseball, right? The Deep South, you could drive, within 5 or 6 hours of Auburn University and play tons of major teams and great mid-major teams and things like that. Our non-conference games, South Alabama, UAB, when we play Troy, we Georgia Tech, that's a home and home every year. That's a top 25 team, probably a top 10 team this year. It's 2 hours away. And then in the SEC, 30 games, which is basically just 10 super regionals. So the college baseball season is a sprint. And every weekend, somewhat feels like the playoffs because every game matters. And, 4 games a week, it's a great schedule. It's a great cycle. The guys have a good rhythm and everything like that. And we need to play some good opponents to get ready for our SEC schedule. And we need to get on the road. Like the biggest thing about that Arlington trip is trying to get on the road one of those first 4 weekends, just so when we go to Missouri to open up SEC play, it's not the first time that we have been on the road. And we've been on the road as a team. We know what we're doing. So every game matters.
Yeah.
I love it. So I got to ask about it because I know Mark is very anti-banana ball, but I'm very pro-banana ball.
Yeah.
You all had them out in this fall. I mean, it's been kind of cool. Like it started, I think, last year with Clemson. They played the Savannah Bananas, and then now you all got to experience this year. Talk about what that was like for your players and your fans, and you all too as coaches.
I will say this. It was a great experience. And the way I see it, and we saw it, was there's so many people that wanted to see this, right? A great connection point with our community. We play regular baseball every day.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one opportunity to try something different. And it's kind of like, the game was on a Saturday, and we actually hadn't had a great week of practice leading up to that game. And we said to the players, look, we chose this. This is 10, 11 months in the making. Just because we haven't had a great week of practice and haven't been as clean as we'd like does not mean you have to be quiet or act frustrated. Just let it go. If you're not sure if you want to be a part of this or what you think, figure that out Monday. Don't make your decision before. Let's just go jump in, make it a great experience. I don't know. We probably had 8,000 or 9,000 people there.
Yeah.
Families, kids, connection. Their guys were unbelievable the way they ran a practice with our players and poured into them on trick plays and stuff. It was a really great 2-day experience. And I would say this, Mark, I didn't know what to think of it either. And we all can have our preferences. I like coaching regular baseball too, but trying something new was a pretty cool experience. And I think the biggest thing you'll get from learning about the Bananas when you look a little deeper is they're trying to truly make connections and impact people's lives. You've got heroes that they recognize. You've got people that are struggling in life that they recognize. They recognize foster families that have gone above and beyond. And so it's really their whole passion is connecting with people and making them feel good. And so that was fun to be a part of, something that's bigger than just baseball.
Mark's going to hate me for throwing him under the bus there.
No. There's so many people that ask me like, hey, what'd you guys think? And we're like, we liked it. And they're like, well, we don't like, or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, well, everybody's got their own thing. And Mark, we all like baseball most because that's what we're doing. But man, that's a really cool thing too.
Yeah. I listen, I'm all happy for them. I just say, it's entertainment to me. It's not necessarily baseball. Like, it's a version of baseball, but it's not the baseball that I love. And, that's okay. I'm glad that other people get out and enjoy it. I'm glad that they have a good time with it. I'm glad that they give back to the communities and all the positive things. I don't have anything necessarily negative other than I won't necessarily go to those games unless I have to take my nephews, and they're already begging me because they're going to be at Austin Stadium in Eugene. So I'm going to have to try to figure that one out. But
yeah. You'd rather be down in Corvallis watching them play a weekend series, right?
100%. Yeah, I'd rather be at the ballpark seeing them play baseball. But, hey, it's okay. I like that it's entertaining. I like that people show up. I mean, anything that gets more eyes on this game, it's great for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Mark, you got any questions on your end?
Nope, that was all. I just wanted to make sure we got the defensive one. I've just been so impressed by Auburn's defensive ability that I wanted to check on that one.
Awesome. We'll dive into some of the more fun questions. So for you, Coach, this is going to be a loaded question. So if you could go back and coach any team, any sport, which team would you want to coach?
Any certain exact team in any sport?
And a team from like a year that won a championship or anything like that.
In amateur or anywhere ever?
Anywhere ever. Anywhere ever.
I told you it was low.
If I could coach any team ever, just growing up a Yankee fan, I would want to coach one of those teams in 96, 97, 98 with Derek Jeter and just unbelievable role players and the coach and Joe Torre and Don Zimmer, in those days and things like that. That would be the fantasy coaching to be a part of that run and experience that.
Love it.
Yeah, I love that. I always say the 2001 Beavers that were a field goal away from being in the national championship. I'm like, just being a part of that. I mean, I grew up 30 minutes north there, and they used to not even pay for security guards. They used to have the high school team. So since I was a high school football player, they'd always have us come down and do security for them. So I got to be a big part of just seeing that. And I was like, man, that would have been cool to be a bigger part of that.
Heck yeah.
Coach, if it wasn't baseball, what would it have been? What would the career path look like? What would you be doing?
Yeah, I always loved real estate, and I thought maybe after college I went and got my real estate license and was going to do that. And I tried to get away from baseball when I stopped playing and just give it make sure this isn't the only thing that I do, because it's all you do and something you love. And we all have a lot to discover in our early 20s, right? And I think it would have been real estate. I definitely like not being in the office all the time. Don't mind working on weekends or things like that, checking things out, being creative, meeting people. Probably would have gone that route.
I love it. Kind of in the similar vein. So when you're not doing baseball, thinking about baseball, what are some of the passions away from the field?
Yeah. Well, we have 3 young girls, so, just 11, 8, 3. So you feel like an Uber driver at times. So I don't know that's fun. It's usually when you get your best conversations in with your kids, when you're driving them somewhere. I love living in Auburn, Alabama, having been from, colder weather. This is a quiet time of year. I love to be outside. I like to, get out, play 9 holes, like to exercise just to kind of keep moving, things like that. I'm kind of a sun junkie, so anything that's outside in the sun, I really like. We like to get away a little bit this time of year and get to the beach. It's not too far away, but definitely the most of the year is tied up with baseball and and trucking kids around.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, getting them to all their activities, anything. Do you coach them in anything, or do they anything that you have to be a part of on that side?
It's hard with this job to
Yeah,
to be able to commit your time, because a trip could come up. You could be sitting in the office at 9:30 in the morning, hear about a player, and be driving somewhere the next day. So I'd like to go there whenever we can. The fall and winter sport are a little bit easier to get to, and the anything that's spring or summer is pretty tough with our season and the recruiting and everything like that. Things settle down a little bit in the fall. We can be there a little bit more, but not enough to be at the field at 5 o'clock coaching.
yeah.
Awesome. For you, what is the go-to pregame or postgame meal?
Yeah. We get some pretty good pregame meals. A lot of the postgame meals, I try not to eat too much at 10 o'clock at night. It feels
Yeah.
like all we do is play 6 o'clock games. And then with TV, there's 8 o'clock games now. You get done at 11:30. So you're like, all right, got to eat. But you're basically eating dinner before that. But definitely chicken or mostly chicken and some vegetables, some potatoes, some fruit is a good pregame meal that'll get you through the rest of the night without having to eat too much, and make you not starving at 11:30 when the game's over, and then eat a bunch of food and not be able to sleep.
I love
Any
it.
game day rituals, coach? I know for me, when I was coaching, I had to have a thing of red vines, and I had to use my Pilot G2.7 pen to write every lineup. That's just what I did.
Yeah, I love this Bic Atlantis pen. Really, really love that pen. I don't know if it's I try to have one every day because I like writing with it better. But definitely, our schedule's so crazy. You try to get in for a couple hours. You try to get out in the middle of the day for at least an hour, hour and a half. So you're kind of fresh when you come back. And then our process starts a few hours before the game, and definitely no crazy rituals. That's a great question. I'm sure guys have tons of them, but our schedule, we feel like is it can really vary, and I don't have anything that I do every game day. It would be easier if we played at the same time every day.
That's fair.
Yeah. I worked as a clubhouse guy during the Arizona Fall League once, and there was a coach that had to have his entire locker set up in the same setup every single day. So us as clubhouse guys had to organize it by color. The shoes had to be in the same spot. It was insane.
Oh, that would be exhausting. Yeah, there's enough going on with the pregame and the game itself. That would be tough. You're trying to keep as few things on your plate as possible on those game days.
Yeah, absolutely fair.
Coach, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us on the college baseball show. We're super excited to watch you all this year compete in 2026, and wishing you all nothing but the best.
Guys, thanks again. Have a great Christmas, New Year's, and we look forward to seeing you at the field in 2026.
Thanks,
Sounds
Coach.
great.